I haven't been recording audio this whole time.
Yeah, there is a backup. Wait.
Thank you.
The family wedding on her side was in Nigeria, so the parents went to Nigeria.
Woke up this morning, feeling round for my
All right, guys, take it away.
Do you have questions?
I do. All right.
Like,
so,
what are we taking away?
all right. So Hector and Priscilla, I want to hear. How did God prepare you guys before you met each other?
Well, first let's introduce ourselves.
That's
Okay, go for it.
So we're Hector and Priscilla. I go by Ace, short for Acevedo. She goes by Azoto Acevedo. We've been married for coming up on 2 years next week. We're in the process of traveling and moving from Seattle, Washington to Florida to take care of some business things, but also because that's where we feel that our lives need to be right now, especially with pandemic and what's going on in the country, to also take care of my parents who are there because of my dad's health. So we're here to just kind of hang out, talk with you guys, share a little bit of our story, and so we're just kind of an open book. Go ahead. Anything else you want to add?
No, I'm from Nigeria. I always like to start with that because my perspective is very Nigerian.
And I'm an East Coast kid, so my perspective is a tri-stater.
You guys can look at the people.
Okay.
Talk to the people.
Yeah. Do we want to start with that?
Yeah. Start with how you met, and start with. Yeah.
Go ahead, Liz.
How did we meet? I was working at Eastern Nazarene College, which is close to Boston, and he went to Eastern Nazarene College many years before I was working there. And he came back for a class he was taking for his master's degree, and we met through mutual friends.
That's how we met.
Yeah, we met in my apartment, which was cool.
So tell us a little bit about your history, like how you ended up in the U.S.
Oh, yeah.
How you ended up in Boston.
2005, I came to the U.S. to study music at Houghton College in Weston, New York, close to Buffalo. And that's where I met Rebecca, because we kind of crossed paths. And we were part of the same group of friends. And then I worked in Rochester, New York for 4 years, and then got my master's in transformational leadership, and eventually moved to Boston and worked at Eastern Nazarene College as a residence hall director. So that's how I got to Boston. After that, I got a position in Seattle to work as the Minister of Worship at Seattle Pacific University. And that's where I've been until 2 days ago.
Yep.
Yeah.
And as far as me, I grew up in North Jersey, Newark, and then was raised in Irvington. Moved out to the suburbs because my parents wanted me to go to a safer high school down by the shore, and then was there for 4 years, and then ended up shipping myself up to Boston for college. And then I stayed there in the Boston area from Eastern Nazarene, then moving into Boston. And I was there until 2018, and as we were dating, until we got married. And then in 2018, that's when I left Boston and I went to Seattle to join her. And that's what got me out to this coast.
He doesn't like this coast, just saying. He's a total East Coaster.
Why? Why don't you like this coast?
Because I'm an East Coaster.
He just is biased.
I'm very biased.
I still believe.
On the East Coast, I left 2 years later. No, I did.
Yeah, you can't do.
I couldn't. I'm glad I went and I found out what it was all about.
Right.
But I was like,
Where did you live?
New York.
Yeah. So coming from that North Jersey, New York area, that's where I was born and bred. And then going to Boston, and then I've been all up and down the East Coast from pretty much, literally, I've been in every state minus Vermont. So that my whole life has been on the East Coast. So I can agree in the sense of I appreciate being on the West Coast, seeing the sights, but yeah, East Coast is home for me.
We've never lived anywhere else except Seattle, so we'll see how we feel about Southwest.
Southeast. Southeast.
No, I mean this next 2 days. We'll see how we feel about Southwest.
Gotcha.
So there's a purpose for this trip.
Yeah,
I still want to move to California. That's my dream. But
South, you guys, Pacific Northwest is
different than her.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
But it's still the West Coast.
Yeah.
Right.
So
Right.
we'll see.
So
So set the scene for us. When you met, where were you at? Had you given up? Had you been dating like crazy? What was your mindset like?
I was 35 when we met. Do you want to go first?
go ahead, babe, you got it.
I was 35 when we met, and I wasn't dating crazily, but I really wanted to get married. But I had almost given up because I was like, I'm 35. I'll probably meet somebody who had tons of children or was much younger than me or just not into. And I didn't have like a partying background. I pretty much stayed in my apartment and went to church. I'm a preacher's kid, so like everybody at church was married. And so it was a little frustrating. But I wasn't particularly looking for him. When we met, I wasn't interested in him at all. When he asked me what kind of person I was trying to find, I said 6'3" black man. So I was like, you're not it. Yep, I said that to him. And so I said, you're not it.
Now, so that's her side. So
Say
so
hi
it's
with
not
things on.
necessarily
Listen.
it's not necessarily a rebuttal because she did say those things and that was her perspective, which she's entitled to. So for me, I wasn't much of a partier either. I was also 35. I had dated here and there. I had a couple girlfriends, you know. Obviously, you know, you get intimate on certain levels with depending upon your lifestyle. But I was also heavily in church and doing different things, and I knew I wanted to be married. Now, whether it happened or not, I was kind of in the same boat. I wouldn't say I necessarily gave up, or I wasn't like it's not gonna happen. I do admit I did have those times throughout like my late 20s, I would say. But then again, having community. One of my friends, who I was talking to him, and he just basically told me to shut the F up. And he's like, do you want to be married? Like, do you want to have kids? And I said, well, yeah, of course I do. He's like, well then, because at the time I was struggling whether I was going to be one of these people who are, for lack of a better term, called to be single, right? And that's when we had that conversation. And he said, if your desire is to be married, then you're not supposed to be single. That was his perspective. So that was kind of like the hope in the darkness, if I could say it that way, at that moment. So anyway, so just kind of chilling with people. But I was the type of person that I didn't want to be connected to just anybody. Because I knew my perspective of marriage was, in my opinion, unless something happens like health-wise or a tragic accident, like I'm going to get married once, that's it. I don't believe in divorce, right? If we got to duke it out until we figure it out, then fine, right? So it's one of those longevity, I'm in it to win it type of things. So for that perspective, I didn't just want to be married to anyone. Like I needed a certain, and even my friends were like, God is making a woman for you because there has to be a certain type of woman to deal with you and to handle you and to be with you. So anyway, so that was my perspective. So when she came across, or when we crossed paths, I wasn't really looking at her either. That's the other part. I was actually, see, of course, this is where she wants to be prideful. So perspective, I was already just getting out of a relationship.
He was, yeah.
And that I had been dating for at least about a year and a half, 2 years. So yet again, I wasn't the type of person to like be with a certain girl and then immediately go to the next girl. Like that wasn't my deal anyway. So anyway, that was kind of my first love at like 35, 33. That's when we met. So she was my first love kind of thing. So there was some pining. I'll admit that. Like I was pining over this girl, or young lady, I should say. So she came into the path and I was like, she was cool. My thing for her was that she was around college students. She had no real adult friends.
So let me tell this part.
No. You had your chance. This is where you zip it.
Okay, I'll wait for you. And I'll rebuttal.
So for her, she was doing she was in charge of a dorm. So she was over the girls' dorm at Eastern Nazarene and things like that. She did a great job there. Bless you. But what happened was she had no adult friends. Like Say that a little bit louder for the camera.
Yeah.
Say that again.
I didn't have much friends.
Okay.
I was new to Boston.
So the people she confided in were 18 to 22-year-old students.
I didn't confide in them. They were like my people. You know?
Exactly. Children. So therefore, I'm like, you need some adult friends and you need to get out. So I was willing to be that person to show her around Boston.
Let me tell you how this came down, okay? He was willing. So he says,
Because she needed the help.
hold on.
I'm just saying.
You're done. He says, so do you have friends? No, he says, what do you do on your free time? I was like, I don't know. I chill and go to church. Have you gone to this movie? Do you go to the movies? I was like, no, I don't really go to the movies. Do you have you been to this restaurant? And he's like, oh, you don't do much. We would like to I met him in the context of some other friends. So we would like to take you out and, get you to see. Are you open to just get to know the city? And I was like, sure. You're okay for us to, introduce you to different parts of Boston. And he kept saying us, we. And then like at the last, just before he left, he was like, so you're cool if we go out and get some food and you go see a movie? And I was like, yeah. Suddenly I was like, that sounds like a date. Because he just said, just me and you go out and...
I heard doubling.
Hold 1 second. Okay, I turned it off.
Wait, so the we you thought was the group of friends.
I thought...
The we really was the two of
you. You got it.
He kind of
So,
you into a
technically, hold on. Technically, the we was both. It would have been her and I, but then also a group of people that I had introduced her to some of my
so
people.
She can have adult friends.
Right. Now, keep in mind, she didn't have proper perspective on me either. She didn't really know me. So she didn't know the fact of if I was looking for a date, I would have just told her I want to take her out on a date. Okay. Like literally when I said all those things, which is true, I did say those things. But it was in the context of friendship. Yeah. But for her being in her bubble, you were. You stayed in your apartment. You just said it. You were in a bubble. You automatically thought it sounded like a date, and not knowing who I was and how I was. Yet again, being an East Coaster, I'll tell you up front what I'm thinking.
That's true.
I'll tell you up front what my opinion is and where I stand on a certain topic.
That's true.
So, and yet again, I knew I was just coming out of a relationship, so I wasn't looking for anything.
Yeah. So I just didn't. He was like, let me know when you're free. And I didn't let him know when I was free. I just was never free.
And it's not like I was waiting on her either. I had other things going on.
Right.
Yeah. So I found out later, though, that he was still really, really into the other girl that he was dating. So I was like, oh, he can be my friend then if he's not looking for to date. If he's still into that girl, then he can just be a friend. So we became friends. Right. And he will always say, if you just need to get away from all the students, just let me know. I'll come pick you up. And
so, Priscilla, honestly, though, you said he can just be a friend. Like, we're somewhere in your mind. Mm-hmm. Were you attracted to him?
No.
Or was it really oh, he can be a friend.
Yes. And that's why I was very clear to him. I was like, look, because he asked me, he was like, what kind of guy are you into? And I was like, 6'3" black man. If possible, a Nigerian. If not, he has to understand Nigerian culture. Like, I'm not playing. And so... And
it was just friendship.
It was just friendship. But when we hung out,
Sit back.
I noticed just a depth to him that he's just such a, like Becca met him. His motto is, I'll make you hate me the first day you meet me, and then if you stick around.
And he did.
Right.
If you stick around, then we can be friends.
Not me, but everyone else.
Which is kind of funny because originally when I said that, to be honest, I picked that off a rap lyric from Fabulous, because he said, because in the song he goes in the song.
You already.
In the song, so in the song he goes, right now you hate me, but later on you're gonna love me. That was the lyric, and so yet again, perspective and introspective for me, I'm like, that's kind of how I live my life. So I kind of adopted. I was like, yeah, right now you're gonna hate me, but when you get to know me, you will love me. And that's fine. And that's
there's
okay.
a depth to him that you don't just get to see on the first time you meet him. And there's a heart that I was like, oh, this is kind of cool. And so we started being friends. And he was, I think the biggest thing I appreciated from the first days, he's so honest. And what you see is what you get. And there's no facade. There's no. He almost got him in trouble in Seattle because they're kind of passive aggressive. They're not as, and so that was fun to watch.
And then on my side too, yet again with all the stuff I was going through, I appreciated Priscilla for who she is, but even though she was I was attracted to her physically because my wife is fine. I mean, that's real. However, my thing was, in my opinion, I didn't think we would vibe well, and it would just be friendship as well, for the simple fact of her position and her stance on some things. Like, in my opinion, to be straight, I thought she was one of them holier than safe type chicks, and I'm like, she ain't gonna be able to roll with me anyway. You know what I mean? So there's no point. She's cute, and if we kind of not hook up, but if we went on a date or whatever, and I stole a kiss, if I can say it that way, fine, no big deal. But in my opinion, it would never go anywhere. Yeah. And that was because of her perspective when I got to know her on her upbringing, some of her thought patterns. I'm like, she's not even really kind of what I'm looking for anyway. You know what I mean?
So he did steal that kiss on the day we were hanging out. And I was like, oh, haven't kissed somebody in a while. And so it was kind of cool. But at the same time, that perspective came out because we started kind of seeing each other and went on a first date. And that perspective came out in different things of, yeah, we're cool, but it may not go far. So, and then he didn't have time to deal with the other girl because he went like straight from the last time he hung out with her and then started hanging out with me. And so that came up later on, and then we broke up, and I was like, I'm done. Where's my 6'3" black man? I'm done.
How long was the time period of the dating before you broke up?
So when we met in October of 2015. That's when we met officially through our mutual friends in her apartment. And we have been getting to know each other, friendship, kind of hanging out, all the way up until May 2016. And then by the end of May, around that time frame, was our first date. And we said we would go out, which is where she's talking about there wasn't really a gap. Because all throughout our talking and getting to know each other, I was still kind of hanging out with the other chick. Right. So there was still an overlap between the two girls. So I would hang out with her, but then I also hang out with the ex, which wasn't smart.
God
that was dumb.
Forgive you.
Yeah, right.
The earnest beginning of dating.
Yeah.
Right, that was the earnest beginning. So then by September of that same year, we broke up.
Yeah.
Because that's when some stuff came to light, and I realized that.
It's his over honesty too, because he went on like a retreat, and he just called me crying, and it was his birthday. He was like, I'm still in love. I think I'm still in love with that girl. But I love you, but I think it's not like he went back to her or he did anything with her. He just felt he needed to be honest with me. So I was like, great. You don't need to think about this at all. We're done. And so this is awesome.
Now keep in mind, she didn't say that over the phone. It wasn't
until he came back.
It wasn't until I got back that we talked face to face and talked some things out.
And it was hard because I liked him and I hadn't really dated somebody, and I felt like.
And she was crying too. Don't let her cry.
I just said it was hard.
But that doesn't mean you were crying.
More to bring out the Nigerian.
Did you fall from the retreat?
Yeah.
Well, it wasn't even really a retreat. Really, I was actually in the Bronx. I was.
Wait, what?
That's a retreat of a different
In the sense that he was praying, he went to pray and be with God for a while in the Bronx.
Meaning, like, you had a spiritual
Yes.
experience.
Yeah, it was.
Made a call in the midst of the
It was the
experience.
funniest thing because when all that stuff happened, I was actually doing some schoolwork. I was at my boy's house, who was a youth pastor. But anyway, I was reading a book, and it was as I'm reading the book, like my spirit's getting cut open, and I'm figuring things out. So yeah, it was kind of like a retreat. Like the stuff that you would get out of retreat was happening, even though I don't call it was really me getting away from Boston for a weekend, hanging out in the Bronx with some friends and some ministry work that I was doing that weekend. But the funny thing is, where I thought I was going to be doing the ministering, I was the one that got ministered to. And so that's when all that stuff came. So I got back to Boston after my birthday weekend.
Yeah, and we talked. And for me, I was sure this was it. I was like, I know what it's like to be with a Puerto Rican. Now I got to find my, And I was sure, I was sure that it was over. But I still, found myself, at this point I was like, I'm not going to, because for up till 35, I was just kind of waiting and trying to, somebody find me, somebody date me. So at this point I was like, I'm going to go find people. I, for the first time, started online dating. And I'll meet people.
credit that to him because he kind of got you at
Yeah.
the bubble with
Yeah.
the young people?
Yeah.
Almost like that was a catalyst for you to
Yeah.
independently be
Yeah.
able to seek. Okay.
I've never thought about it, but yes,
Okay.
definitely. And so
Because that's what I do. I change people. You know what I'm saying?
I was waiting for that
That's
to
what
come.
I do.
I was just waiting for that.
So humble.
So humble. I married a very humble man.
Okay.
No, but I realized that when I met somebody, I was looking for qualities that I had found in him, and I couldn't find it.
Wow.
But at the same time, I was just, oh, sweetie, oh, so cute.
Don't be stealing our show. No.
You're a catalyst.
You don't have to leave. You can stay.
No. And so he called me to apologize because he finally figured out, oh, this was terrible. This was a terrible thing I did to you. And I was like, no, you don't call me. You're done. You're done. And
She was very mean.
I was.
Very mean.
Sad when she said that?
He was angry.
I was hurt. Yeah, I was hurt because it was me working through emotions, and I think her being mean was just her defense mechanism because she was hurt. But I think also, my opinion, she didn't process that stuff fully either. So for her, it was just a defense mechanism. But yeah, I was hurt. I knew what I did was wrong. You know what I mean? And I was figuring things out. And I mean, I'm all about reconciliation in the sense of just trying to make it right. But if that's what she was, then I had to let it go, which was still hard. But
yeah, and then I got sick. I had a concussion. I didn't know it was a concussion at that time. I just had a fever and I was sick. I was in a play. I fell on stage. I had multiple concussions, and I didn't know many people in Boston. So I needed to go to the hospital one night. It was really late at night, and I didn't have somebody who had a car. So the person who was with me was like, we're going to have to call Hector. I was like, do not call Hector. She's like, that's the only person I know that can get you to the
How
hospital.
long ago did this happen after the breakup?
This was in November.
That was Thanksgiving Day.
Okay.
No, this was a little bit before Thanksgiving Day.
You
Because
sure?
Thanksgiving Day, we were going back to the hospital for the second.
Oh, okay, got it. Okay, you're right.
No, actually, that was, I
No,
went.
it was Thanksgiving.
Yeah, because you took me to the hospital
That's the
first
one where
time.
Woods called me and she's crying on the floor in pain.
That was Thanksgiving Day.
That was Thanksgiving Day.
Yeah.
Aww.
And I was literally about an hour and a half, give or take, away at my friend's place, having my food. It's Thanksgiving, so I'm going in. I'm a fat man, you know what I'm saying? So that's my holiday, right? So I'm about to go in. So next thing I know, our she's like a spiritual daughter to me, sister to her. She calls me and says, and I did say, if you need anything, let me know, because I know I'm the only one in town. I'm the only one close by. Blah 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 blah. So sure enough, I get the call, and literally I'm like, and I was with a buddy of mine. I was like, T, we need to bounce. He's like, all right. So I'm literally racing, and I got to the school in like probably about a half an hour, just breaking all types of laws.
Aww.
Yeah.
He was about
No,
45
I'm like- I was
minutes
about-
away.
How many miles? Yeah.
Yeah, I was probably doing like an average of about 80,
Okay.
and I'm literally crossing people on a double yellow oncoming traffic to get around people to do what I needed to do. And my boy was from Jamaica, so he was all for it. So let's go. So
Why not?
and he's from
Oh, wait, who was that?
Tamoy. You've never met him.
He was on the bridal party.
Yeah, he was in the
I
bubble.
remember him.
So my man T, he's from Jamaica in Queens, so he was like, I'm down, let's go. No issue. So we're racing, we get there, we pick her up, get to the hospital, and you can pick it up from
Yeah, at the hospital, he looks a little half decent right now. When he leaves his hair, and it looks crazy.
Thanks,
He
man.
looks. I said he looked like a terrorist, really. And so I get to the hospital, and sometimes he just gives this mean vibe, and the nurse pulls me into the bathroom. Are you safe? Is he hitting you? Are you okay? And I'm like, yeah, he's my friend. And she was like, are you sure? I was like, yeah, is he your... So at first she thought he was my husband and he was hitting me, and I was like, no, I'm fine. And then she finds out he was my ex who was just helping out. So she kicks him out of the room, treats him like...
treating me like trash.
She really thought she was
She thought
saving
it
you
was
from
domestic.
domestic
Yes.
abuse.
Yeah.
She was like, blink twice. You know
Yeah.
what I'm saying?
It was literally like that. And she's like... And so I'm like, and they're being utterly mean to him, and they'll just, every time they want to say something about my health, they'll kick him out. And he was just there. And I was like, who is this person? Like, I thought he would just be like, forget this. I can't take, and just walk out. And he stayed the whole night, brought me back home at about 4 a.m. in the morning, stayed with me all night to make sure, because they weren't sure if the pain was going to come back. And it was just, I started seeing sights of him. And then I had a concussion. And for me, that just took away my filters, because I was such a good girl. What we realized was in the first round of our relationship,
She was fake.
I wasn't able to just say what I was feeling. I was a preacher's kid, just very guarded. And so with the concussion, I was saying everything that I meant exactly the way I meant it. There were no filters. He'd be like, can I come over and keep you company? I was like, no, because I don't want to see you right now. You're not, And so he was like, I'm like, you want to come watch me watch TV? And he'll be like, yeah. So he'll come and I'll be watching TV and not say a word to him. He'll just sit there and watch. So I was like, who are you right now? And then he could have been doing anything. He didn't need to look after me. And another friend will come in and how you doing? And I sat talking and completely ignoring him. And so, but that period, we were able to talk about some of the real things that were affecting our relationships. With some of the things he was doing that I didn't appreciate, but because I didn't tell him, he didn't know. And he was like, if I knew this was hurting you, I wouldn't have been doing it. And so I think we had the best conversations we had ever had.
Because she decided to finally be real with somebody.
Oh! Stop throwing shots. I was able to, and it felt freeing.
Yeah.
And for the first time in my life, but from the very first day, from that point on, I could be my true self with him and not feel like he was judging me or, I was my most crazy self with him. And he just accepted me that way.
And that was the holidays 2016.
2016. But then we decided we didn't want to just jump in and start dating again.
That's not how it went.
Okay.
So backtrack just to give you perspective yet again. So basically, that night at the hospital while I'm being treated like trash, I'm literally, and I'm a man of faith, so I'm praying, and I'm just like, you know what, God, I'm done. Like, I don't know, like, you need to either shut these feelings off, heal me, and heal this girl, because I need to be out. Like, I'm done. Either you're going to put something together, or we just need to part ways. Because after being treated the way I was treated, I'm like, this isn't how it's supposed to be, right? So I was like, either heal this chick, like, or I'm done. So when I got back her back to her place, I basically put the can down.
Oh, sorry.
That's what she's trying to tell you.
What are you saying?
She doesn't do sign language. So anyway, so at that point, I said, and even when she was treating me like trash, I said, I'm here to make sure you're okay. Because one, it's holiday break. So there's no students around. So if anything does happen to her, nobody's going to know about it. Because she had to be on campus.
And they called you. That was the thing, too. They were treating you so terribly. It's like they called you.
Right. So anyway, so I told her flat out, I said, and we had our conversations, which was great and all that type of stuff, and we didn't make that. And I said, look, come December 1st, I'm done. Yeah. Like, I want to be with you, but if you're not ready or if you're done, that's fine. But just come December 1st, come hella high water, either you're healed from all this stuff or you need to find somebody else to watch over you until everybody gets back, because I'm done. I can't do this to myself. Mm-hmm. So at that point, we basically parted ways. December 1st, legitimately, I was like, we're done.
My friend was coming back in town, and she was going to start watching me.
Right, and so I was like, I'll talk to you on Christmas and just say, just to be cordial, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, but don't expect much. And that's kind of what happened. So Christmas Day, we had a small blow-up before Christmas with the little thing you were doing.
What happened in my heart at that time was, yes, we're done. He gave me a book. He was like, if you, don't call me, but if you need to express how you're feeling,
I gave her a
journal in this book. And I was like, and I was like, poor guy.
Don't call me, write it in the journal.
I was like, poor guy. It's never, you're never.
Poor guy. Poor guy.
I was going to say, I'm never going to write anything. I'm not going to think about you. I was like, good riddance. But it was like magical. As soon as he left, I started missing him. And I was like, what is this? And I'm crying and writing in the journal. I'm like, what is this?
And because we have mutual friends, I would check in and be like, how's she doing? Is everything okay? Blah, blah, blah. And then even one of my other spiritual daughters, she's like, yo, she can't keep your name out of her mouth. I was like,
And so I'll ask her, like, how's he doing? Is he doing okay? So I will do like a Christmas dinner
together,
for some of my students who were still in town or whose families were too far away that they couldn't have Christmas. So I'll have little stockings for them and I'll cook. And a lot of them canceled at the last minute. And so, no, this was the second year. This year I just sent a mass text and sent it to Hector. And
I'm like, why is she sending me
why is
this?
she inviting me to this? Because he was there the year before, so he told a mutual friend to tell me that he wasn't coming, and so I was like, anyway, and so I cooked and.
Meaning he didn't respond to the text.
He didn't respond to the text. He just.
From a third party.
Mhm.
Told you that.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Because, like, I'm a man of my word. If I say, I'm not talking to you, I'm not talking to you. I'm done.
Yeah.
Like,
but yeah,
December
you did
1st.
talk to her indirectly.
He just wanted me to know that he wasn't coming. So I'm arriving home and I see this car in front of the house. Like, that looks like Hector's car. What is he doing here? So I go in and he came to drop somebody who didn't have a car, and she came in.
she kept goading me.
This is how I saw it. She came in and I was like, who brought you? She was like, Hector, can I take him a plate? I was like, sure. So of course I missed him. So I'm making the plates and I'm like, he doesn't want to come in, and I'm putting all this food and praying for him and like, God bless him. And then she takes the food out to him. So he comes in to say thanks for the food.
Somehow got a plate. I mean, come on.
I'm not talking about her food.
Didn't even respond to
Look,
the
I
text.
told you, I never say no to food. That's the one thing about college that I have never grown out of. There's free food. I'm usually there. Just gonna be real.
She was new.
So at that point, I was just like, take food, be kind. And he came in to say thank you. And so, of course, I put back my...
Because she kept saying, you sure you don't want to come in? You sure you don't
That
want to come in?
was Woods.
Yeah, that was Woods.
I
I
didn't
said,
say
you
that.
sure you don't want to come in? And the girl that I dropped off. And I'm just like, fine, I'll go in, but I'm not staying long.
So he came in, he was like, thank you for the food, said hello to everybody.
Yeah, Merry
And he
Christmas.
was like, out
Gotta
of
go.
bounds.
Right.
So I was like, okay, bye. And he left. Then sent me a text
Yeah,
to say,
that was weird.
so how you didn't think you should walk me out of the...
That's what.
At this point, I was like, hold on. So
Which I appreciated.
I just lost it. At this point, I was like, one, I invited you to this party. You said you were not coming. You show up anyway. I send you a plate, and all you have to say to me, what do you want from me? What exactly do you want from me? Because if you don't want to do anything, then we cannot talk to each other. But if you want to see me, then talk to me. And then I think the concussion was still helping at that time. Because I was like, look.
Which I do praise God for that concussion. Because it helped a lot of conversation.
It moved us along faster. I was like, look, I feel like you're trying to be tricky. I called him afterwards. And then he came back and I sat in his car and just said the same face to face. I said, I feel like you're trying to be sneaky and trying to find out how I feel about you. And you don't have to be sneaky. You can just ask. If you want to know how I feel about you, just ask and stop being like a child and passive aggressive. I said, and if you ask, I'll tell you I missed you and I've been missing you this whole time. So I don't know why I don't know why you're acting up. And so that
I think the reason why I was like that was because the way she was before, I wasn't sure if I would get a straight answer or an honest answer.
Mm-hmm.
So I had to do, which I'm not even, and she'll tell you, I'm not one for games
No.
either. I'm really
It
not.
was almost kind of like your action was probing.
Right.
Like you needed to get it out.
Right.
And you knew that. It was almost like you knew what button to push
Right.
to get whatever needed to be
Because I'm good
done.
at that too. Pushing buttons, yeah, I'm pretty good at that.
it's a problem.
You like to react best.
I definitely love reactions, yeah.
A reaction would be something.
Right,
Yeah.
exactly.
Truth would be the reaction.
You egged her on.
Right.
for sure.
So then what happens is, so basically we get to a couple of days later, we're actually on Christmas Day, and she's like, and so before,
We're not even letting you ask questions.
No,
Sorry.
it was perfect.
I think our story kind of answers all their questions. So anyway, so what happened was we did ask, what are you doing for Christmas? Right, Christmas Day. Campus is closed. You can't even go to the cafe and get food. Everybody's gonna be closed. There's no students. There's nobody around. What are you doing? So then she says, I'm probably just gonna be in my apartment by myself. And that didn't sit right with me. Like, I know we had our issues, right? But it's Christmas and it's not cool. So I literally talked to both my spiritual mom, who is where I would go to Christmas in Boston, my Boston mom, and then I even called my biological mom, and I said, this is what's going, and they both knew what was going on, because I'm honest with my moms and my people, and kind of keeping them abreast of everything that was going on between her and I. And so, let them know what's going on. So I was like, she's going to be, like, Christmas, she's going to be home, like, in her apartment by herself, and I don't know what to do. And so both of my moms was like, yeah, that's not cool. So then my boss and mom was like, if you want her to come, she can come. We have extra food, blah, blah, blah. I was like, okay. And then preempting, I was like, can she bring someone? Is there enough for her plus a one for her? Because I know she's going to want backup. She's not going to feel, she's not going to want to come by herself. And she's like, yeah, that's fine. So I let her know. I said, look, if you got nowhere to go, that's not right. I know it might be a little funny. Bring woods if you want someone else. Christmas, you can come by, my mom's house, eat, at least be in some company, do what you got to do.
And then he kissed me on Christmas Day.
Under the mistletoe. So wait a minute, did he show up at the Boston Moms on Christmas?
I did. I went. Yeah, he was there.
Well, I was gonna, that was where I was going anyway.
That's Christmas. Yeah.
Yeah, that's where I go.
And so we're flirting the whole day.
Why did she need the +1 if you were going to be there anyway? Because you guys still.
Because I wouldn't have been. I didn't know his people that well, so I would
And
have
she wouldn't have felt.
outnumbered.
She would have felt outnumbered and uncomfortable. So I'm like, okay, at least let her bring her own backup so she feels comfortable to be there.
Yeah.
So then we're like sitting across the room and everybody's watching and like these two are idiots. At least that's what they told me after the fact, right? We're like making eyes at each other and like
it was
all that
like
type
the
of stuff.
movies.
Yeah, it was like
your
the movies.
eyes catch each other and you smile.
You
And
guys need to be together.
Right.
We have to figure it out.
Pretty much. That's exactly what it was.
yeah.
So then we actually ended up, she was going to take the friend home and then ask, can I go? And I'm like, okay. And so at that point, my friend was like, yep, they're going to talk. They're going to figure it out. Like, there's no reason why she has her own car. Why do you need to take her? She lives up north, blah, 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 all that stuff. So anyway, so that's when we dropped her off, and then we actually had the chance to talk for like 2.5, 3 hours in the car, kind of iron some things out.
And we both decided we were still attracted to each other, but I wasn't going to jump into things. And for me, a lot of what I do has, because I'm a person of faith too, I have to just get a confirmation in my spirit from God. And I was like, God will have to come from heaven, because I was so hurt. And I was like, an angel flying, visibly.
Thus
needs
saith
to
the
come
Lord.
down and tell me before I agree to a relationship. And I happened to be going to England. My parents live in England. So I was going to England for about a week, and I was like, tell you what, my parents are like my spiritual guide. I'll have them pray about it. Let them tell me, and let me see how they feel about this. So I went to England, and I told them, and they were praying. I got stranded in England because policies changed while I was there. So my visa was delayed for 3 weeks. And it was an interesting time. And so, but we started talking on the phone and falling in love with each other on the phone and having this distant relationship and praying together and just being very real with each other. And that was kind of the beginning. So when I got back, he took me out on a date and we officially got back together. But at this point, we were so sure that we were meant to be together. It was just, there was a part of me that knew I couldn't find, this was what I was looking for, even though it didn't look like what I was looking for. This was the man I was looking for. And so, we started officially dating in February.
Yeah, 2017.
Again. And then by September, I moved to Seattle. So we were long distance from September to December. December, we both flew to England.
So I could officially meet her parents. Because we had been talking about, we knew that we were getting back together. We knew from that time she was in England that we're going to get married. It just makes sense. And we both had those confirmations in our parents and through our channels and processes and all that. So I literally went to England, which she didn't. She knew I was going to England to meet the family, talk to her dad, like do the proper, getting a blessing to marry and all that type of stuff. Yeah. So anyway, so what she didn't know was that I would literally had already bought a ring, and I was coming to England with ring in hand. And I was already plotting and scheming, talking to her sister about how to go ahead and propose and figure these things out. So we got to England, talked to parents.
We're doing Christmas gifts, and I'm the one, the kids,
she's handing it out to the kids.
Nieces and nephews are there, and I'm like, I'll call the name. And so I was sitting down, And then he comes, kneels beside me. So I just thought he wanted to tell me something. And he was like, can I get your attention? I was like, everybody just started screaming because they got it before I even got it. So if you watch the video, it was just, can I get your attention? And ah! And so
it was so crazy that technically speaking, I didn't even ask will you marry me. Like I literally knelt down. I said, I just want to say thank you for letting me be a part of your family. Blah 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 blah. And as I'm doing all this, my mom is on Facebook, like live, not live, but Facebook Messenger, like a video call in one hand. So she could see it and kind of be there virtually. And then I had the ring box open in my other hand, but she didn't see it.
I didn't see the ring.
So literally, I made my little announcement, and then I said, hey, babe. And then I just showed the ring, and that's when everybody starts yelling. And then she starts crying, and she holds out her hand.
Everybody said yes.
Yeah, pretty much.
And the whole family. Like, if I had a problem with it, I wouldn't have been able to say it. It was crazy.
Yes, she said yes.
It was beautiful, yeah. I didn't think I'll cry, but I did. I did cry. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was
So
special.
then at that point, we left England, and we did New Year's apart. She had to go back to work. I had to go back to work. So I'm in Boston. She's in Seattle. We're engaged officially. And
we were engaged on different coasts for the 6 months, and then in July we got married 3 times. Because we had
When did you go to Seattle for the move?
Say that again.
When did you move to Seattle?
After we got married.
in
So
August.
July in the summer.
So yeah, so what happened was we got married in July in Nigeria, right? Came back, got married in
again.
Boston again, and then
Full wedding.
full wedding, the whole 9, reception, all that. And then the next week, we literally, like, July was crazy. First week was Nigeria, second week was Boston, third week was Florida for the honeymoon. Then we got back to Boston in the 4th week. She ended up helping me pack some stuff, and then she hopped on a flight back to Seattle because she had to be back to work for August or whatever. August 1st. And then I ended up leaving Boston at the tail end of July. I stayed some time with my parents in Jersey. And then August 1st is when I drove out west.
The family wedding on her side was in Nigeria. So the parents went to Nigeria from England, and you had the family wedding in Nigeria
Right.
on her side.
Right.
And you came back and had it in
So your
Boston.
parents barely
From my
met
side.
Oh no, they barely met him. They met him once before the proposal,
Yep.
and they met him at the wedding.
Wow.
However, as we were dating, there would be times where we'd be together, like during our first season is what we call it.
Season 1 and
Season 1.
2.
So season 1 was before the breakup in September. So there would be times where she'd be talking to them. So I had talking to them and
On
spoke
video.
to them on video chat and things like that. But officially, like in the flesh, was twice. Yeah.
Now, the sister that was you were plotting and scheming with the proposal
Mhm.
planning and all of that, was she in England?
She
Yep,
lives
she
in
was in-
England.
she lives in
with
England.
her family.
Yep.
But I have other siblings in Nigeria, and the rest of the family is in Nigeria. So
Yeah. So
we did weddings.
So that's how that worked, and then I basically left Boston August 1st, and I made it to Seattle August 5th or
Yeah.
6th. No, August 6th. It was 5
Because
days.
he drove.
I drove so I drove cross country in 5 days, and that's when we actually started our marriage in
Saved a
Seattle.
day.
Yes.
So that'll be 2 years
That's what we got out of
this
this talk.
August that she would have been in
In
Seattle.
Seattle.
Correct.
Now you guys have left Seattle.
Yeah.
Correct.
Got the call to go to
To
Florida.
go to Florida.
Correct.
Yeah.
Okay, so we have we got to wrap up in like 15 minutes.
Okay.
Okay.
Ask the question.
And
That was the longest answer. That was our
That's
stories.
amazing.
Our stories not short.
You guys, it's
Do
really
you, I know you have American citizenship probably,
Mm-hmm.
do you have Nigerian African citizenship?
Who, me?
So since you're
Not
married
yet.
to someone, you have a dual.
I got no idea. You gotta talk to her.
If
I
he
don't know how that
wants to,
works.
he will get it. If he wants it, he can get it because he's married to me.
Yeah.
a Nigerian citizen.
I know.
I have no problem with it. I just don't know what the process is.
You've never asked.
Also have another wedding in England.
They don't think your money to give you another passport any day.
So, I mean, right now we're working on her
On
getting
my green
on
card.
her green card now.
2 years later.
So figure.
one citizenship
At a time.
Yeah, exactly. So
Yeah.
that's how that one's working. Anything else? I mean, I don't know if there's any other questions that we didn't cover in all of
Can you guys repeat the whole story back into
When,
that?
I want to know, when did you guys have peace that you were like, God wanted you guys to be together and get married? Because it sounds like you both were on different timelines until that.
Until
the
Christmas
plate,
Day.
The plate food.
It was Christmas Day
After the plate of food
after the
story.
plate of food
That
story.
was like a breaking point for you guys.
Yes.
It's really interesting.
And we both believe, and feel free to correct me if I'm wrong in saying this, but the time off that we had in that month of December, which literally wasn't even the whole month, because we met up on the 22nd and the 25th.
Yeah.
So literally that 20 days of being apart, right, kind of solidified that this is the person I want to spend the rest of my life with. And God needed to do that. So and when we broke up back in September that previous year or whatever, or no, the couple months before rather, I remember her thing was, that's it, we're done, like we'll never be together type of thing, blah blah blah. And I remember the reason why we call it seasons is because that's like I'm a big movie buff, like I like watching movies. So I said, you know how you rent a movie in your DVD player or even on streaming or whatever, and there's a couple things that happen. It's the movie's over, fade to black, the movie's done. Or you pause the movie because you don't want to miss anything, and you go to the bathroom or you go to the kitchen and blah blah blah. I told her right then, I said, I don't feel that this is a fade to black.
Yeah.
I feel like this is just a pause. That God needs to do some stuff in me, God needs to do some stuff in you, and I believe we're going to pick this back up. And that's
It was
literally
like
what
two
happened.
different people. Yeah, he told me that, and I was like, psh. But it turned out to be true, and we were like two different people because it wasn't tentative anymore. By the time we saw each other in February, it was, we knew.
Right.
And he had done some work on himself. Like, it was like, this is the person I want to marry. All the other stuff, we were just ready. I don't know how God worked that out within those 20 months, but I remember saying to him that day when we talked, like on the 22nd after the food thing, and we finally straightened everything out, and then he told me he missed me too. And I said I loved him that day. And he was like, who are you and where did you keep Priscilla? Because I will never say that before. But it was just a knowing. I don't know how to explain it. There was something in my soul that said,
the reconciliation,
Yeah.
you saw it.
yeah,
Like, would you ask your parents, from what I hear, like,
Yeah.
you asked your parents to do that prayer work
Yeah.
that you didn't feel like you even had the space to
Yes,
do yourself
yes.
before. When you were in England, that distance, when you said you guys fell in love with each other
Yeah.
all over again,
yeah.
that to me sounds like that was a really important
It
time
was.
too.
And we didn't have the physical anything
No
to
distractions.
confuse
Right.
what we really wanted. It was just, we were talking and we were finding out what we
Yeah.
really wanted.
One of my waking moments, which is kind of a funny story. So during the breakup portion in September, I had caught kidney stones. So I ended up in the hospital.
Not funny.
So he was sick before I was sick.
A plate of food, concussion, kidney stones, that book.
Oh, the kidney stones came back
No,
at
the
our
ki-
wedding.
Yeah, the kidney stones came back.
Bookmarks of food,
Yeah.
concussion, kidney stones,
Yeah.
all these weird.
I'm back
Um,
to kidney stones.
So technically, it was kidney stones, food, Christmas. No, kidney stones, concussion, food, Christmas, back together, getting married. That's if you want to look at it that way. So,
There was kidney stones before. we
and
got
then there was
married.
kidney stones the week of us getting married in Boston.
Stone bookend.
Yeah. So I had caught kidney stones. I had caught some kidney stones. I had to go to the hospital, right? And so here was the thing. Both her and the ex knew that I was in the hospital. This one showed up at the hospital. And brought some of my spiritual daughters and brought some fun things like that. So fast forward, I'm talking with a buddy of mine, the same one that I had mentioned earlier that talked about me being married and shut the F up. He did it again. He said, I was talking to him as I was in the hospital, blah, blah, and she came to see me. And then he's like, wait, what? He's like, Hector, I'm going to punch you in the effing throat. Are you kidding me? Like, this chick came to the hospital and you're not even together? Are you stupid? Like, you need to fix that. Like, you know, she had, the ex has a mutual friends between you two. You know she knows that you were in the hospital. Did she show up? I was like, no. I was like, okay then.
That was the
What
girl he
F-
was still in love
Right.
with.
So in other words,
You
so
weren't over her yet. So you were probably bummed she didn't come, right?
no, I had nothing to do with her. Like, I didn't.
Right. But it just kind of says something about her character.
Right,
That's
and
what
and
this
not
is.
only her character, but just where she was, and nothing against her. I still think she's a great person, and God has the right man for her. I don't even talk to her no more, unfortunately.
Hallelujah.
Um, but But I mean, it's not like I can't keep tabs because we still have mutual friends and travel in the same circles. But anyway, it's just one of those wake up moments to like, what are the things you're looking for? Like, what are the things that matter, right? So, and I think it comes back to what she said, like, what she thought in the very beginning was, you know, the 6-something, Black, Nigerian, all like the packaging, right? And I think a lot of times we as humans, we get caught up in the packaging, and right? And it's like when you buy anything at the store, it comes in a package. But the package doesn't matter. It's what's inside the package that counts. That's what you bought. That's what you decided to buy, right? So, which I would sum that up as saying the character of the person, the intangibles that you see in that person. Those are the things that matter.
And one of the things I asked God at the very beginning in the first season, because he has this exterior hardness that, you know, it looks like nobody can crack. And I was like, God, show me his heart. Because I want to know who this person really is. And then random situations will come up where I'll watch his heart break and I get to see the real him. And that's what made me realize the package doesn't matter. This is the person, this person whose heart can break, who really loves people, who he will give his kidney to people he cared about. He just, you know, so I saw that and saw how he was present to other people. And then for me, another thing that was important was someone I could pray with, and we could pray together, and we had similar passions, and God has just kind of brought that together. Like right now, we're building a business together, and we are very in sync. We're very much in sync. And I'm like, sometimes I just stop and I'm like, I couldn't have married anybody else.
Like there were literally times where we sit back and like, even though, and don't get it twisted, we have our arguments, right? She comes from a Nigerian perspective. I come from a tri-state American, Puerto Rican perspective. So there are a lot of cultural differences that we have to iron out. So let it be said, we have our issues, we have our we have our and everybody does, right? But in all of that, it's one of those things where it's like, we sit back and literally there are times where we say, there's only God could have done this. There's no way that just her growing up in Nigeria, me growing up in New Jersey, two different people from across the world.
So different. You can't get more different.
Right. Yeah. You know what I mean? And it was those types of things, and it's like we are exactly what the other person needs.
We balance each other.
We balance each other well.
Aww.
And that's, I think, the part that a lot of people on both of our sides didn't necessarily understand, because our prospective people would hear the complaining, the arguing, or the he's so different, or he annoys me, and I'm like, this chick just doesn't get it, like all these types of things. But innately, the stuff that mattered is where the common ground was. And we look at each other now, it's like only God could have done this. Like we couldn't ever have imagined that I would be the right person for her and she would be the right person for me, and that we complement each other. So
Woo!
Oh, thank you for having us. Oh, yeah.
Thank you, appreciate it.
Oh, yay, Noah. Hi, Noah. Hi, thank you.
We got some people talking.
Who's that?
Alice.
Alice, was that you? Whistling? Who was talking?
I think it was your mom.
Oh.
I said Yahoo!
Yay!
We got mom's approval.
It's a miracle.
Whistling!
Oh, we?
No, I was just clapping and saying, woohoo too!
Yeah, Whistling, thank you.
Whistling's on from Dubai.
Yeah,
We have
she's
an
on
international.
Yeah. We got a few years ago, Hector met a couple that were building a business. And for me, I'm a musician, I'm a singer. I'm looking forward to being able to focus on that full time and not have to be working the 9 to 5 like all of us struggling artists. But I've always had a full-time job that just takes all of my time. And Hector had met a couple that were teachers, but they got this business revenue sharing opportunity. And we heard about them and we pursued them and asked if they could mentor us and teach us what they knew. And it was amazing because they accepted. They went from being teachers in New England to being financially stable and free. And so it's a 2 to 5 year process where they teach us how to revenue share
Right.
with different companies and different large companies, and we attract people to our website, and people can shop these different companies
Yeah,
through our website.
The business is revenue sharing in nature, so we're partnered with multiple Fortune 500 companies with our hands in like health and wellness, beauty and cosmetics, Sears, Macy's,
So it's like
energy
the
drinks.
Amazon of
But they
big
come through
corporation.
your website
Right.
Yes.
to get the product,
Yes.
and you guys share in the revenue
Yeah.
that's coming through your
Exactly.
website.
Which a lot of people do that, but this couple have succeeded in it,
Yeah.
and they're teaching us step by step
How to do it.
what
How to
they
do
did.
it.
And
So-
it's not only just the business side of things, but there are mentors too, which
Yeah.
they also live in Florida.
Heard of this.
So while
Yeah.
we had to go to Florida, it all kind of worked out. Taking
Yeah.
care of my
so we're
parents,
moving
and mentors
closer to them.
so we're moving closer to them as well. They live in the Orlando area, but yeah, they mentor us in life, so they can coach us in business,
Yes.
so that we can yield the results that we want.
Yeah.
For us, like we believe, which is kind of funny, like even this type of conversation is kind of some of the things that we believe
We
God
want to
is,
do.
we want to do
wanna
anyway.
talk about our marriage. and-
Talk about marriage, talk about life and things like that. And not that we have all the answers or anything
No.
like that, but we believe that that's kind of what the things that God is calling us to.
Yeah.
And being able to help other couples, singles and couples, just have an opportunity to have an extra income stream
yeah.
on the side if they choose, so that
Mm.
they can seek out, or they can go ahead with the passions that they have,
Yeah.
right?
We-
To help develop them for what they've been called to do.
yeah.
Go ahead.
I was gonna say that we were blessed to meet this couple. Really, they're such an amazing couple, and we are excited. And so we want to be able to share. We want to be able to bring other couples and
Yeah.
singles and just teach them what we know as we
Right.
go along.
Yeah.
And so
And they've helped, like our mentors have helped us through their mentorship and their guidance. Like we've paid off like 15 grand in debt
yeah, so far.
on one income. I wasn't even working at the time,
Yeah.
because I was still in transition from
Mhm.
Boston to Seattle. So on the one income, they gave us some ideas and some kind of tricks of the trade, financially speaking.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing illegal. I say tricks of the trade. You gotta be careful. But just
Mindset stuff.
yeah,
Yes.
exactly. Thank you. They gave us some different thinking.
That's a
So
good word.
then that way, so we paid off 15 grand in debt. We're not out of the hole yet, but we're still making strides and doing
Wow,
things.
I didn't know
and-
that.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I'm financial services, and I'm like, yay, be debt free.
Yeah,
Yes.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. And they've been debt free for over 40 years.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it's been a blessing,
And it's
we're grateful.
part-time.
Right.
Like it doesn't take. We have our own
Right.
schedule. So we're actually moving to Florida, and I'm not going straight to a job. I'm gonna be teaching voice lessons, but I'm not locking myself in a 9 to 5.
Yeah.
We're able to that because we're staying with his family a
Right.
little bit, but
To help
we
with
have
them.
this thing that we're creating, and we have people teaching us how to do it. So
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
gonna.
So while she's doing that, I'll be doing the 9 to 5, as well as working on what we're doing on the side, while we're also helping my mom take care of my dad,
Yeah.
health wise. So we have a lot of different things going on.
Leah asked if you guys want kids.
Yes.
We're
It's
working on it.
scary because I'm 38. And I'm like, dude, I'm going to be like, how old when my kids are graduating college? And I'm 39. I turned 39 last month. I turned 39. I forgot about that. I'll be 40 next year, y'all.
That's
Oh,
my
you
sister
said
had
you
her
30.
kid.
I know.
20.
Yeah,
My
so,
mom had my sister
There you
when she
go.
was 44.
wow.
My sister had my
Yeah, you'll
mother
be a
had me when
geriatric
she was
pregnancy.
39.
Okay, so I got,
My mom had me when she was 42.
Yeah.
wow. Okay. That's the Lord saying something to me. So we'll start working on it. But that's true. That's true.
Right.
In my culture, it's like as soon as you get into the house, they're like, "You pregnant yet?" And I'm like, "Y'all, I didn't have. We were the pastor's kids. We didn't have boyfriends. I didn't sleep around. I was like, can I just enjoy my husband for a bit?"
Yeah.
So now I'm getting to the point where I'm like, okay, maybe we can add somebody else in the mix.
Feeling round for my shoes. But you know